he reached a point where he took the decision, because the decision-making process in those days was also such that it went through a kind of a system where, I mean, it went through some layers before it finally came up to Vajpayee ji to, finally decide. So therefore, on many issues, there was a lot of discussions, there were a lot of consultation, and finally accommodation.
I think all the words that you use, to describe Atalji Shekhar are all words which must be used. Let's just go back to the spot and listen to the sights and sounds.
Three rifle volleys by the Indian Army on behalf of the nation. The body, they say, is nothing more than the coming together.
So there will be a gun salute which will be given, and I think it's just started. It will be an elaborate procedure. The Hindu rituals which are to be performed as mantras will be chanted, and all the people who have assembled there will have a prayer on their lips for the peace of the soul of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. I think millions of people who would be watching this broadcast, not just across India but across the world today, would be wondering how to interpret the legacy of this individual. Practically every person who's there today at that venue, from Shivraj Singh Chauhan to Sushil Modi to Sushma Swaraj to everyone else, I can tell you that all of them must be thinking of their last meeting with Atal Bihari Vajpayee. People have described him as their elder brother. People have described him as their father. People have described him as an individual who simply taught them how to laugh in moments of extreme adversity. As his famous poem Geet Naya Gata Hu seems to suggest. When you're stuck with adversity, think of what will be that next moment when you will find some moment to laugh, some moment to cherish. And I think therein lies the biggest legacy, the biggest lesson for Atal Bihari Vajpayee. His long-term friend LK Advani there, and I'm sure Mr. Advani must be thinking of all the good times that they had spent together. Today, that Ram from that Ram Lakshman Jodi is gone. They were described as this modern day Ram Lakshman. They were described as two people who were inseparable. Stories abound of how much the two of them meant to each other, as stories abound of how much they sometimes disagreed with each other as well. But their disagreements always ultimately led to a scenario where the two of them ended up being more close to each other. I think that's what Atal Bihari Vajpayee was all about. Rahul Gandhi there, next to him Rajnath Singh, Home Minister, and next to him another close friend, key aide of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, from the MP from Kanpur, former Union Minister, and BJP President Murli Manohar Joshi. Dr. Joshi was also on the program last night, and he was also sharing his insights into what the legacy of Vajpayee really meant for him. So as we look at these pictures and as we continue to ask this question as to how should India remember Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and what will we make out of his contribution to India's foreign policy, to India's domestic policy, that one word which keeps coming back to me, and one word which has been used extensively by all people who've been a part of our broadcast since yesterday, is grace. This grace in times of adversity, this grace in times of extreme success, I think is what really set apart Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So the reason why we're seeing this extreme love and emotion unfold all around us today, the reason why we're seeing that even people who may not have ever met Atal Bihari Vajpayee but still today are thinking as if they've lost someone who was very close to their own selves, as if they've lost someone who was their own family member, is exactly because of this reason. That Atal Bihari Vajpayee, through his oratory, through his poetry, through his thoughts, has ended up touching the lives of 1 billion people, certainly in India, and I'm sure his supporters and well-wishers across. Shekhar, you must have travelled with Vajpayee ji, you know, on multiple occasions when he was the Prime Minister abroad. Talk us through, because, you know, I hear all kinds of stories about trips with Vajpayee ji being great fun when he would travel. So tell us, how was he? How was he when he would go for the UNGA summit or the G9 or the G20 summit?
Well, there were occasions when he would, when he was able to walk, he would come and greet the journalists who were on board the aircraft, and then he would ask, "Sab theek hai?" And we would always look for that human dimension to his discussions with world leaders. And Ashok Tandonji, who was his media advisor, would always come and tell us about those little things that happened during the official receptions or during those banquets. So that, because that formed the part of the interactions, you know, as to how Vajpayee ji would, because there were occasions, I remember the visit to the Tehran, and where we got to hear, you know, that probably Vajpayee ji relished a particular fish dish that was served, if I remember right. And because these things went into those kind of high diplomatic summit level bilateral, you know, talks, because
What you like and
so
what you don't like.
so much has been said about Vajpayee and food, but Vajpayee had his own way of conveying to the host that how much he appreciated the warmth, the hospitality shown to him. It was not in terms of pure protocol. There was also a personal touch in which he conveyed his gratitude for to the host for having such a wonderful visit organized for him, and which was the honor for India. So there were several dimensions to his such trips, and of course covering his rallies and public meetings, and even any interaction on the party forum, or and many people would have recalled that whether it was his worst moments or his best moments, he never lost his sense of humor, because people have recalled 1984 when the party was just reduced to 2 seats, the election that was held after the assassination.
And he created a poem, Phir Andhera Chhatega.
No, that was there, but when he reached Bombay and when he saw crowds outside where he was staying, I think that is Piyush Goyal's father's place, he said, "Oh, people have come to see how does a defeated Vajpayee looks like."
That's the greatness of the man, isn't it? That here we are looking at his funeral pyre, and I think for an entire nation, his death in many ways has given people to think about a past which existed, to think about a past which was not so poisonous and toxic, which was not so bitterly polarized as it is today, a past where you could celebrate your losses as well, a past where you could have just shrugged it aside, a past where every electoral victory or loss did not mean that the other person was completely vanquished or that you had become the biggest king of the jungle, so to say. For the family members of Atal Bihari Vajpayee who've all gathered there near his funeral pyre, it's an extremely, extremely moving moment. In a moment from now, I think we should be able to show you the man who has been by the side of Atal Bihari Vajpayee as his chief security officer for almost 16 years, if I remember correctly. And that's Mr. Zingta, comes from the Himachal cadre, a police officer. And I often asked him, he's standing right next to Ranjan Bhattacharya, and I often asked him that doesn't he feel that he should go back to Himachal and maybe, you know, end up taking more powerful positions. And he always said that there is no more powerful a position than being simply close to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So while he was away from public glare, while he was away from public life, Atal Bihari Vajpayee certainly did not lose his ability to touch the lives of people around him. He could not speak. He had, his memory had started to fade over the last 7 to 8 years for sure, but it still did not take away the sense of humor away from him. It did not take away his unique ability of simply trying to connect with people at a very basic human level. His granddaughter obviously being completely moved by what she's seeing in front of her. Many moments I can think of where Atal Bihari Vajpayee would be playing with his granddaughter. I remember once there was a meeting which was taking place, a very important cabinet meeting, if I remember, or a BJP party meeting which was taking place, and suddenly we all saw that Vajpayee ji came out very quickly and got into the car. So we thought whether there was some kind of a crisis situation, that abruptly the meeting had happened, meeting had concluded, and we were told no, that's not the case. The reason why he has suddenly left is because there was a call from the home that his granddaughter wanted to see him. So, and this is when you know, I mean, she must have been very young, all of maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or something. So that's what Atal Bihari Vajpayee was as Prime Minister. He still managed to hold on to that grace. He managed to hold on to a very basic human quality, humane quality. Humility, when you're at the peak of your powers, I think is a great lesson which Atal Bihari Vajpayee has left for his successors across the political ecosystem. From the Prime Minister to a whole host of leaders who've gathered there, reminiscing about their equation with the departed soul. Advaita, tell us something about Mohan Bhagwat, who's there, and his equation with Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Mohanji has penned a very moving tribute to Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Did you ever get a chance of figuring out what Vajpayee meant to Mohan Bhagwat?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to engage with him on that specifically. Of course, I mean, he comes from a younger generation, so it would have been his father, who was also in the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, who would have possibly had